This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
Welcome back. We're in the Stone Zone, and joining us now is my friend Joe Pagliarulo, widely known as Joe Pags. He's a nationally syndicated radio and television talk show host, known for his pungent and dynamic blend of news, commentary, and humor. Joe, I'm going to be honest with you. Virtually everything I know about radio, I have learned by listening to you. It's a great honor to have you in the Stone Zone today.
Well, listen, Roger, you got to be kidding me. I mean, that is an absolute honor. Thank you for saying that. And by the way, thank you for being my second guest ever on my new podcast coming up. We can get into details of that coming up, but thank you for everything that you're doing. I love listening to you. I love having you on the show, and I love learning from you, my man.
You can listen to Joe's show by going to joepags.com, joepags.com. I am not understating when I say he's one of the most influential voices in the country today when it comes to calling out the fake news and telling you what's really going on. In fact, Joe has been recognized by Talkers Magazine, which is kind of the industry standard, as one of the most influential talk show hosts in the country. So, Joe, let me just start with a softball. 100 days plus now. How's Donald Trump doing?
Well, it's an A for me, Roger. It's not an A plus, not an A minus. It's an A for me. The only one thing that I thought was kind of a misstep was, and you and I talked about this before, was how they rolled out the tariff information. I'm for tariffs. I think they're going to work. It's a great leverage play. But the way the president rolled it out, now I'm not blaming him. It took too long. By April 2nd, when he came out with the chart that said this is how they're screwing us on trade, that made perfect sense to every American. But for about 2.5 months, most Americans were like, I don't like it. It's just an extra tax. It's going to make the prices go up. Everything else, he promised it. He ended up doing it. And if he did nothing else, Roger, the fact that he closed the southern border, that was all I needed. I mean, to be honest with you, he could do the rest of it over the next 4 years, and I trust him to do it. He crammed so much into the first 100 days. I just thought the tariffs were a little bit clunky, but other than that, I give him a solid A.
Yeah, I think actually in his heart of hearts, he doesn't really like tariffs. He'd love to go to zero tariffs with all of our trading partners and have a mutually beneficial relationship, but that hasn't been the truth. We haven't had a free trade and we haven't had fair trade, and therefore he will use tariffs as a cudgel to make our trading partners give us a fair deal. And he rejects these one-size-fits-all trade agreements like GATT, for example, and NAFTA, because they did not serve our country well. What's amazing to me is the way the liberal media, when they deal with the immigration issue you just referred to, continue to misrepresent who this guy, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, is. They keep calling him a quote-unquote Maryland man, as if he is a U.S. citizen with the rights of a U.S. citizen, when in fact there is no question that he is a violent MS-13 illegal gangbanger. He's a violent gang member, but the liberal media wants to rewrite the narrative.
Well, let's be absolutely clear about who the guy is. What you just said is absolutely correct. He is an El Salvador citizen, and he's back home in El Salvador. He's a guy who twice was adjudicated by 2 different judges as being a member of MS-13. They believed an undercover informant. They did not believe Abrego Garcia. He is a guy who got due process by asking for asylum and was denied and had a final deportation order. The only thing that was keeping him in the country was there was a withholding of removal only to El Salvador. They could have sent him anywhere else they wanted to, but many make the argument that that's gone because President Trump made MS-13 and Tren de Aragua violent terrorist organizations. If you're a terrorist in this country, you don't get the same exact due process as somebody else. He got due process. He was here illegally. He was allegedly human trafficking. Twice his wife reported him for allegedly domestic violence and beating the hell out of her. This is not a good guy. The fact that one of our senators out of the 100 that we have went down there and had margaritas or something, over lunch with him is disgusting. He even has the tattoos on his fingers that represent, they symbolize MS-13. So, Roger, you're spot on. This guy is a bad guy. And I'm going to be honest with you, I want the media to keep on reporting it the way they are, because every time they do, their ratings and their approval go way down. I think they're at 20% now, maybe 22% approval, the media. They're not believable anymore. That's why people like you have such a great show.
I was shocked when I saw this guy at ABC, who frankly I'd never seen before, actually challenged the president and claimed that those tattoos that the president displayed a picture of on the guy's knuckles, gang tattoos, were photoshopped. And I checked. They're not photoshopped. They're real. It's beyond belief. Beyond belief.
Well, what happened was somebody added the M, the S, the 1, and the 3 just to show what the symbols represented. And Terry Moran was acting like a Moran and was getting it wrong. That interview that President Trump gave him, Roger, you know Trump much better than I do. I know him, but I don't know him as well as you do. I would like to say to him, please stop doing the interviews until I see the interviews and I see how he dominates them, and maybe he should keep on doing them. That guy looks so foolish. Going with that, he said some would say they represent MS-13. No, they're literally the symbols of MS-13.
I saw him last Friday night, right after he finished taping the Meet the Press interview, and I knew that the interview was going to be dynamite. I could see by the grin on his face that he had triumphed once again. In the meantime, Kamala Harris recently resurfaced, gave her first public speech since losing the election. I guess she finally sobered up. All the polls show that if she runs for governor of California, she's a clear front runner. Shows you how deranged the people out there have become. And she is easily the first choice of Democrats to be their nominee again in 2028. Joe, could we be that lucky?
Well, listen, that would be lucky. Maybe getting AOC, that would be lucky. Fill in the blank. Jasmine Crockett. The left is in such disarray. I mean, as intelligent as you are and as great an advisor as you are, would you even want to take the job of advising a party that is so completely disconnected and disjointed? You've got the left fighting the left, fighting the left, fighting the far left, progressive left. And, people like you and me and the president, we sit back and go, okay, you guys have at it. I hope they offer up Kamala Harris on a platter again in 2028. It will be easy pickings because Roger, can you imagine 100 days in under a Harris administration? And the country would be over.
Yeah, it does boggle the mind that she's even the front runner. But I think this is one of those cases where the polls are accurate. I'll tell you where they're not accurate. The New York Times and ABC came out with polls last week, which showed that the president's approval was dropping. Now, to the untrained eye, you might believe that, but then I looked at the internals on those polls, something I've been doing for 50 years in the vineyards of American politics, and I found in both cases that they undersampled Trump supporters. In fact, in the New York Times poll, only 37% of the people in the overall sample said they voted for Donald Trump in the last election. So what I'm seeing, Joe, is the same kind of psyop, the same kind of false narrative that they tried in the run-up to the last election, where they try to tell us that the American people feel something or say something or believe something they don't believe. I have yet to meet a single person who tells me they voted for Donald Trump, but they now regret it. Have you met any such person?
Not one. There's not one. And in fact, some that didn't vote for him are saying, maybe I should have. What's interesting about what you just brought up is you're right. They're undersampling Republicans. They're oversampling Democrats. And they're putting these polls up as if that's going to sway somebody's opinion. I also don't know that many people who say, well, the poll says this, therefore I should probably forget what I see and what I hear and what I know that Trump is doing. Roger, here's the quandary I have, and I mean this. It's a real conundrum. Do we tell the left, stop lying about the polls? Do we tell the complicit media, stop being complicit? Or do we sit back and let them do it and just keep on showing the American public the truth versus what they're doling out as false narrative? Again, I was a TV news anchor for a long time. I was a journalist for a long time. I've won dozens of awards for excellence in journalism, so I know how to do it. So I love calling them out. But I wonder if we call them out at our own peril. Because if they start doing the job right, they might be formidable. Right now, they're a laughingstock.
If you're just tuning in, we're talking to Joe Pagliarulo. No, he's not Irish. Joe Pags, nationally syndicated radio and television talk show host. You can see and hear his show at joepags.com. Joe always tells you exactly what he thinks. but also he's known for his personal resilience. He is a cancer survivor who became an advocate for health awareness. And what I love about Joe is he always gives it to you straight from the shoulder. Sometimes he'll tell you things you don't want to hear because they're true.
Yeah.
Before you came on, Joe, we're talking about Robert F. Kennedy and this entire effort to get to the bottom of what's commonly known as chemtrails. And those of us who saw these things in the sky and commented on, we were called conspiracy theorists, kooks, nuts. People said, oh, you need to be wearing a tinfoil hat. Now we learn that they're real. And that RFK intends to get to the bottom of whoever is spraying these toxic chemicals into the air and to stop them. In the meantime, he just announced that we are going to be phasing out 6 synthetic dyes in our food. Green number 3, red 40, yellow number 5, and number 6, blue number 1, and number 2. All of which are already illegal in Europe, but we still have it in our food. I told my wife at dinner last night, after listening to RFK, I'm afraid to eat anything. I think he's doing a great job. What's your feeling?
Well, I agree with you. I was lucky enough to interview him the day before the election in November. I interviewed him a couple of years earlier for about 35, 40 minutes. The guy just wants us to be healthy. You know, he doesn't align with Donald Trump on a lot of political things, doesn't align with you and me on a lot of political things. That doesn't matter. If my kids are eating Fruit Loops because they have special dyes to make them look more attractive, but yet we don't really know what the dyes might do to somebody's health, they need to be gone. And why is it that Canada, or as you said, Europe, are getting such healthier food from the same exact mills and the same exact factories that are making it for us? It's about time somebody in government said, you know, we've got these organizations in government that aren't doing anything. The FDA, the HHS, I mean, fill in the blank, all these medical and all these health organizations were just like raising money bureaucratically and not doing anything to make sure that we are healthy and safe. We're one of the fattest countries on the planet right now for no reason other than we don't know what's in our food. So I'm with you. I want this guy to go and do the job he said he would do. He's 70 years old and healthy as an ox, and he looks like a bodybuilder. I want that guy to be in charge of making sure that my kids, when they eat, when my family and I sit down and you and your wife sit down and eat, we're eating healthy food that we can rely is healthy. All that stuff that was in there, Roger, they kept on making the ingredients smaller and smaller on the label. We couldn't even track down what they were, and you can't pronounce most of them. So I love the job he's doing so far.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. I think what we experienced this last election was more than just a personal triumph for Donald Trump or the Republican Party. What I saw was a complete realignment of our politics in which all people who believe in peace, who believe in free speech, who believe in common sense, were under one banner, and those who favor war, favor censorship, think that corporate profit is fine. We have to examine the drugs that they're giving our families or the food that they're selling us. That's the fault line. It's not Republican and Democrat. It's not even liberal and conservative anymore. It is the globalists and those who believe in common sense. The Democrat Party of my mother's family, the party of John F. Kennedy, the party of Harry Truman, even the party of Franklin Roosevelt, that party which believed in capitalism, which believed in free enterprise, which believed in God, which believed in a strong national defense, that Democrat Party literally no longer exists.
Well, they're all conservatives now, Roger. They are. They've all come to this side. I mean, think about a party, think about a movement in MAGA that includes Elon Musk, a liberal, that includes Tulsi Gabbard, a liberal before now, RFK Jr. These people that are coming up, you've got the former sheriff of L.A. County, I think his name is Villanueva, who just now announced he's going from Democrat to Republican because he cannot any longer sit by and watch the ridiculous progressive policies that are killing his great county or city or his great state in California. You know, you mentioned something earlier that the people in California might be dumb enough to vote for Kamala Harris.
Folks, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to Joe Pags, nationally syndicated radio and television talk show host. You're tuned into the Stone Zone on the Red Apple Audio Networks. We're going to be back with some more pungent commentary from my friend Joe Pags. So whatever you do, please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back in the Stone Zone on the other side. Don't go away.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone. This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone, who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now, he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
Now, get in the zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And we're back in the Stone Zone. We're talking to Joe Pagliarulo, a friend of mine, but also one of the most important independent voices in the country, and a shrewd and keen observer on the national political scene. Joe, I'm going to throw you a tough question. The president announced last week that he was moving his national security advisor, Mike Waltz, who had been a North Florida congressman, over to the United Nations. And all of Washington and the chattering class is speculating about who the next national security advisor will be. Let me ask you, who do you think it should be?
I think that it would be the proper thing to give General Flynn the job again. I don't think he was allowed to do the job the first time. I think they targeted him. I think Obama wanted him out. You might have actually educated me on that. The fact is, he didn't get a chance to do what I think he would do a great job at. I would love to see General Michael Flynn, the guy that's tapped for that position. Now, as far as Michael Waltz, I like him. I like him a lot. I've interviewed him before. I think he's a great American. The rumblings were, and I'm sure you've heard this, that the NSC wasn't working as cohesively as it could have under him, and he might be a better fit for the United Nations. But I would love to see General Flynn in that job.
I love General Flynn. I think he'd be great. But the other fellow I'd consider, ironically, is his brother, retired four-star General Charles Flynn, who recently retired as the head of the Pacific Fleet, a position of great responsibility that he held under Biden, under Trump, and under Obama. He is still a young man. He would be great. Or Colonel Douglas McGregor, another soldier who I think is a brilliant geopolitical tactician. Either one of them would be great with me. Here's the key thing, though, and this is the difference between this Trump administration and the first one. The president has put together a cohesive team of people who understand that their job is not to delay or derail or dilute Trump's agenda. Their job is to follow his instructions and his agenda and get the job done. I have in the past sometimes critical of Senator Marco Rubio. He's emerging as one of the stars of this cabinet. He's doing an amazing job. This turned out to be, in my opinion, one of the president's very best appointments. You don't have the kind of internal bickering, you don't have the kind of backbiting, but you also don't have people who think their job is to save Donald Trump from himself. Their job is to get his agenda implemented. That's the big difference that I see between the first term and this term.
Roger, I got to throw this out at you. I was a fan of Marco Rubio. I thought he was a very good senator. He went from little Marco, in 2016, 2015, 2016 on the campaign trail to probably the most staunch supporter and advisor for President Trump that I've ever seen. And here's what I mean. When Trump is asked these questions, he now feels so confident. And it takes him a long time to really trust somebody. He feels so confident to say, Marco, why don't you take that? And when Marco takes that, he gives you exactly what the administration line is. He doesn't waver at all. He doesn't say, I'm going to try to advise the president to maybe consider this, that, or he says, this is the way it is. You come in here on a visa, we will ship your ass out if you lied to us. You get a green card, we find out that you lied, you're gone. We're not going to have you come here and do anti-American and terroristic things and just stay because you feel like it. It's a privilege to be in my house. And I truly believe President Trump trusts this guy more than he ever thought he could. I mean, to me, like you said, I'm going to echo what you said. I have been more impressed with Marco Rubio than almost anybody else in that administration, and I've been impressed by a lot of them.
Yeah, it is an all-star team, whether it is Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence or whether it is Scott Bessent, who I think is a real outside-the-box thinking brainiac. When he and Donald Trump talk about ending the federal income tax, they're not kidding. They really would like to try to do this, and I think they would put forward a plan to do so. But across the board, including RFK, who we spoke about, this is an all-star team, and it already shows in this first 100 days. All right, well, unfortunately, we are out of time. I want to thank my guest, Joe Pags. Again, you can catch his red-hot show at joepags.com, joepags.com. Joe, thanks for your time today. Thanks for entering the Stone Zone. God bless you and your family.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me, Roger. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us today in the Stone Zone. As usual, we tell it to you straight. You get the stone cold truth, whether it's news, history, politics, food, culture. We're very, very grateful that you joined us. And until next time, God bless you and Godspeed.
Thanks for listening to The Stone Zone with Roger Stone. You can hear The Stone Zone with Roger Stone weeknights at 8 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?